Long ago I discussed the real European genetics, and in this video I'm going to break down the Asian one, obliterating common stereotypes and proposing a new view, unknown to the mass audience. Starting with the Northern Asians through the whole East Asia, catching Indians and ending with the Australasians. Asia was populated by ancient East Eurasians, who branched from their West Eurasian counterparts. In their early form, they even influenced the Europeans through the ancient North Eurasian, who was a large donor to the Northern European DNA. The ancient North Eurasian was 33% made up of the ancient East Eurasian, stating a remarkable influence on the Europeans. North and South Asians, coming to the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean ancestors, as well as partially the Taiwanese ones, ancient Northern East Asians, or simply ANEA, we can see that despite the prevalent stereotype, they weren't the ones who distributed rice farming, and instead were primarily millet farming populations. Some of their offspring later populated Mongolia and Siberia, but mostly migrated to the south, frequently replacing or sometimes merging with the ancient Southeast Asians, or ASEA. The Yellow River population, which I will henceforth refer to as a proxy for the ANEA, was a mix of 90% ANEA and 10% ASEA, and largely determined all of the East Asians and all the Confucian civilization up to this day. The Yellow River gradually adopted rice, but distinctively from their neighbors, built a significantly more developed civilization. The Han Empire is particularly known for being an Asian Rome, while the Japanese, since the arrival of the Yellow River invaders, became a distinguishing shogunate, rich with culture and tradition. The level of development seen in Korea, Japan, and China was always desirable, and even now gives a proper challenge to the Europeans. These people could build a decent navy on a lake just to win a civil war, and this fight is still pretending to be the biggest of all the naval battles. I reviewed how populations' IQ evolved by the gene culture coevolution. However, it's not the case with the rice farming populations. Evidently, the Yellow River achieved the 105 IQ levels with the help of the mentioned coevolution, using the civilization brought by the millet farmers, while other rice farming peoples still stay on the 80 to 95 IQ levels. Vietnam, Laos, Malaysia. Here we come to the next point in our adventure, ancient Southeast Asians. They also derive from the Tianyuan man and share a similarity with the Yellow River, however definitely being quite different from them. These are the people who invented rice and distributed it through the region. Originally, they come from coastal central China, being the core population of the Yangtze River in the past, although now the place is mainly inhabited by the Yellow River descendants, as ironic as it may sound. Now they represent most of Southeast Asia, with the exception of isolated populations. Even in the Common Era, they haven't begun to demonstrate something even relatively close to the Chinese, being on the level of Japanese before the invasion, besides the fact that Jomon Japanese Ainu were free and didn't have to lose their health being knee-deep in water to grow some rice. Their development you can see on the screen and in the contemporary Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia, who strive but cannot overcome the IQ gap. Singapore, having the Yellow River ancestry, easily wins all of the aforementioned states in terms of intelligence, and there is a reason. The next dish is the recently brought up Jomon population, associated with Korea and Japan before the Yellow River farmer arrival. As already said, they were a fundamentally hunter-gatherer group in dense rainforests of the archipelago. The Jomon show pseudo-Caucasian racial traits, making Japanese sometimes appear as Kazakhs or other mestizo populations. They also bear an ability to grow great mustaches and beards, unlike most of Asians. The core of Japan is in any way made of the continental ancestry, being almost indistinguishable from the Chinese or the Koreans. Nonetheless, in the north and in the deep south, people with predominant Jomon ancestry appear quite frequently. It's worth mentioning that a lot of Australasian people coming from ASEA are mixed with non-Homo sapiens hominids, making them up to 25% not people, or more precisely not our species. India and Pakistan. Finally, arriving at the Indians and Pakistanis. The most interesting part from the point of view of a European, as the country was conquered by the same ancestral group we discussed in the European genetics video, Yamnaya, or just steppe Indo-Europeans. Their invasion was not as impactful as in Europe, since there was already an established civilization in the Indus Valley with a huge population. These ancestral, or rather Preamnaya people, consist of Iranian farmers who entered these lands as a Neolithic immigrant group and ancient ancestral South Indians that are a branch of East Eurasians, hence sharing a common root with East Asians. They are not really different from any rice-farming Asian population, although having a different appearance. The Yamnaya invasion did not change the genetic landscape significantly. Nonetheless, it transformed India in terms of religion, culture, politics, and society, shaping it as a caste state, where the invaders acquired the higher titles, and the locals achieved the status of untouchables. It's quite interesting, though, that Pakistan and northwestern India are largely made of a 50% Iranian, 25% steppe, and 25% ancestral Indian genetics, somehow reminding us of the European model with 50% steppe, 25% Western European hunter-gatherer, and 25% Anatolian farmer ancestry. The rest of India lacks steppe ancestry and expresses more ancestral Indian and East Asian ancestry, particularly Dalits. Brahmins and Kshatriyas, of course, possess more steppe ancestry and less ancestral Indian ancestry, emphasizing their external roots. Southwest Pakistan experiences relatively large Middle Eastern influence. I skip some insignificant populations like Tibetans for the sake of the video. However, if you're interested, write a comment and I hope I'll make a video on the topic of isolated and unknown populations of the world. Now, we get to the interesting part, analyzing. Analysis. As you can see, having the golden knowledge I presented, the situation in Asia is nothing like Europe. There we had a small ancestral population continuously replaced and conquered by two other ones, and the fourth wave being now with the Arab immigrants, while Asia is mostly made up of farmers and indigenous people. Division in our homeland is mostly gradual, and the real difference starts with Arabs and Iranians, who carry Natufian and Iranian DNA respectively. Simultaneously, there is a billion of people of the Yellow River ancestry, who are extraordinarily homogeneous. The same with the South Asians, unlike Europeans, who are extremely variegated in their genetics, and hence the appearance. The difference between the three main branches is dictated by their modus vivendi, way of life. The Yellow River is dominant, grounding their success on the constant selection of more conformist people with higher raw intelligence, able to complete the same task over and over again without feeling tired. This trait has been giving them the opportunity for gradual growth, like in a game, accumulating more and more resources, land, people quality, technology, and other parameters crucial for the biological success. The European model is quite different and is based on sudden but huge growth, caused by creativity and personal striving for power. The Indian civilization achieved their prime under the management of the Brahmins and Kshatriyas of Western Eurasian descent, while the only group left behind is Southeast Asians, since no societal thing did drive them to improve their civilization. Indians now cannot achieve the same level of richness due to the absence of a decent ruling elite, as well as Pakistanis, who abolished the caste system. Central Asians are quite interesting and deserve their own video. However, briefly speaking, it's a pot where East Asians, Iranians, and steppe Indo-Europeans mixed into ultimate and hilarious states. Tajikistan and Turkmenistan are mostly close to the Iranians, Uzbekistan is mixed, and Kazakhs are primarily of East Asian descent, while having a great Slavic population, which is perfectly white. Postscriptum. Gathering all of this information and transforming the raw data into solid concepts, explained in a continuous and coherent video, is an enormously hard work. So I would appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to my channel not to miss the next brief and meaningful genetic histories that really tell a story, not a boring science piece. Please comment with suggestions on the next topics to review and share your opinion on the stated facts. It will be really interesting to read. Ask questions if you're interested and correct me if I'm wrong or miss something.